Hello and welcome back to day 25 of flow posting. We are learning different ways, having different conversations about how to tune in with yourself, the most important person in your life. My name is Crystal Tottenham. I am from Crystal Clear Coaching. I decided to jump on YouTube for the month on a relatively daily basis to talk about this because I've learnt so much through my coaching training, through coaching myself, being coached, but also just through books I've read, life experience I've had. And I need to stop being a greedy dragon that holds all this gold. You can see a previous video where I talked about being a greedy dragon hoarding golden nuggets, though, like more of a metaphorical kind of golden nugget of inner wisdom. So yeah, today what I want to talk about is your temperament, and I also want to differentiate between it's a bat, very exciting. I'm very easily distracted, by the way. You'll probably pick up on this, but it's fun, don't worry. So your temperament is, you will have an outer temperament and an inner temperament, and hopefully they're the same. That means you're being authentic, or you feel safe to be authentic, you could even say. Doesn't mean you're not an authentic person if you have different temperaments in different environments that don't feel true to your core. It might just be that there's certain environments that to do life in this 3D reality you need to put on some kind of hat that's different than you would like to do any day-to-day life. And that can be okay for a time, but I do encourage you finding ways of bringing out that authenticity wherever you are, and it will make life a lot simpler. So yeah, your outer temperament, so a temperament is it's a behavior that happens over enough time that it becomes the emotional energy that you are seen in by others on the outer side, whereas a temperament within it's the patterns of change, or the patterns of not change. It's the patterns that you have internally with how you show up for yourself or don't show up for yourself. It's the internal dialogue you have when somebody has not done the dishes again, and you've had this conversation and you're actually getting driven a little bit insane about it, but you keep the peace because you're at work and you don't want to ruffle any feathers, and yeah, whatever the example is, that's just a very basic example. So internally sometimes you might be fuming, but you have to smile because you're in one of those situations where you feel you need to wear a mask, whether to be professional or to keep the peace. And there is a time and a place where that can be handy, but I just want you to notice if you're doing it too often. What is too often? Well, that's up to you. What feels too often to you? Yeah, I mean, I think there is something to be said for recognizing if we are frequently in an unpleasant state of mind and we feel moody in a certain way that doesn't feel good and doesn't feel true and authentic to us, but we're just frustrated by what's going on around us or what's not going on around us. And if that continues over time, that becomes your internal temperament, and then you are just stuck in a headspace where you're just feeling a way you don't want to feel all the time, and that's not nice. And even worse, if you're really good at hiding it and your external temperament looks like you're happy and there's no problems whatsoever and you're just having a great time, there's a huge misalignment there And I want your life to feel good for you. I believe you will want that for yourself too. But even just look at, if you feel out of alignment in this way, just look at what comes up for you when I invite you to try and change the way you look at things, your perception of what needs to get done or isn't getting done, or what would happen if you actually spoke up about something that's bothering you, in order to release and ideally resolve a negative situation to lead to hopefully having a better temperament internally. What would happen? And if you're coming up with all these excuses or reasons that you can't, just notice that and just ask yourself with curiosity, is that how you actually want to feel all the time? I'm saying this with love. I hope you don't want to feel that way. And if you've already got a pretty great internal temperament, then amazing. So good. There is... really what everything that I'm talking about here on this month of flow posting about tuning in is just so that we can feel at peace with ourselves. If we're at peace with ourselves, we're going to take that energy into the world with us and share it with those around us, build things that help humanity and the planet. So yeah, just very much an advocate for that for you. And just noticing with curiosity again makes such a difference. I know there's times that I will trigger that beat out of people because I ask the hard questions. I ask the questions you haven't wanted to ask yourself or haven't known to ask yourself, and then it's this huge revelation, and that can be scary because, especially to your system, your younger inner child or inner children, as we learnt the other day with parts, we have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of parts from our past that are living and cannot be deleted, that are living rent-free up here and may serve us in really great ways, but also may have served us really great and now is actually not a needed way of showing up in the world. So it's like taking the time to notice those inner children, the inner parts, the younger parts of you that then get triggered in any way, shape or form. When you get triggered, I can pretty much guarantee it's a younger version of yourself seeing something, having a semblance of another situation you've had in the past and feeling like that is the same exact situation. And sometimes it is pretty similar, but it's never exactly the same. Sometimes it's not similar at all, but it just has enough to pull you into thinking it might be, and your subconscious just jumps straight to that conclusion, feels triggered, feels they're under threat, that this might be unsurvivable, might be something that takes them out of love and belonging, and thus they won't be looked after, and as a child they need to be looked after, and without that love and belonging, that connection, they will perish. They will not survive. So again, it's just inviting those younger parts of you to come in, hear what they need to say, and say, look, I hear what you've said, and I thank you so much because we're still here, we survived, so whatever way you acted in the past, we survived, and that was your goal, that was your intended positive outcome. But you have to remember, we've grown and experienced so much more life since you were created. So is there any way that I can invite you to meet this new, much more capable version of me, part of me? And are they able to take over and do this job of having us survive, of us trying something new, something we might be excited about? And usually that part will be all excited to go play while you take over the reins. But we do need to remind these parts because it is subconscious. We need to bring it to the conscious light to actually understand, to notice it when we feel triggered. So if you feel triggered, that is the perfect time to take a deep breath. Exhale longer than you inhale. Just drop in. Ask yourself, what part of you in the past is triggered right now? And whatever part that is, open that discussion. Invite that more capable part of you to take over. Have them hug it out. It's actually incredible how much this simple visualization can really help. But we have to do the work of noticing in the moments. We have to notice we're triggered and take that deep breath and then choose curiosity as to why we feel triggered. Is there a way that we could perceive this in a different way and not feel triggered? Or maybe we want to use this trigger because we actually need some fuel to get some stuff done right now, and being triggered is actually getting us going, getting us off our ass and getting us doing it. So there's a beautiful time for a trigger. Sometimes, as though you might not want to admit it, people will trigger us only to, and we'll look back at them and think, oh, that asshole. And yes, they probably were an asshole, but did they trigger you to do something that you were really grateful that you did? Did they trigger you to become a more resilient person? Doesn't mean you had to put up with that behaviour in the future. I hope you don't. Whatever it was, if it didn't feel right, didn't feel good, then that, sometimes the triggers are just telling you that's not a path to go down unless you want that exact thing to happen again, or similar. It's never exactly the same, but sometimes you'll just feel triggered because it feels similar enough, but it's noticing those moments. Why do I feel triggered? Is this the same situation? Is there actually enough of a difference? Is there a nuance that's new that could make this actually have a different outcome? And just noticing that with curiosity and saying, you know what? This isn't the same situation. I actually feel confident to go forward with this now, but I am grateful for the trigger because if I notice it starting to veer down towards the other path again, I know to pull back. So our triggers are actually really helpful. You could even call them a gift. And gosh, they're annoying, aren't they? Anyway, I started talking about temperament and went on to triggers, so yeah. It is very important that if you are finding yourself in a temperament of frustration frequently, like how can you work towards changing that? And just take a small step at a time if that's all you can feel without becoming overwhelmed. Maybe you just have an internal temperament of constant overwhelm. Is there any way you can take things off your plate? You can write down a list of what you want to do, what you need to do, prioritize it, and figure out some stuff that just doesn't need to be happening right now, doesn't need to be thought about, that would be a nice to do at a later date, but really it's not your priority. So can you simplify your internal to-do list? That will definitely help. So yeah, internal temperament. It's not something I've actually heard people talk about in that exact way, but it encompasses... Oh, another bat. There's so many bats. Wish I could show you, but they're so fast. Yeah, there is so many, like that's our day-to-day life, whatever is going on in our heads. And if we've gotten so used to showing up having our internal reality a certain way, that it's become a temperament, and it doesn't feel good to us, it's a great invitation to find a new way to slowly work back and spiral up towards a better vibration internally, and then that will help you feel better from the inside out. So here's 2 wonderful, good feeling internal temperaments. I hope this has given you some ideas, invited you again to be curious about triggers and curious about what's going on internally for you that has you showing up in the ways that you don't want, in the ways that you do want. Anyway, much love, and I will see you tomorrow. And I forgot to say, is your internal temperament like a little gremlin? A little gremlin! Just hiding in the dark, sniffing around corners. Whenever anyone comes, do you just put on that mask, switch into the calm version of that, even though internally you're still the gremlin? Just something to notice.